Dave from Driving Venture. I'm back in the RS for a Costco Drives, and probably the first one I've done in this most incredible machine. It's just so urgent. That accelerator pickup, my heavens. Anyway, I'm going to get some fuel for this car because this car is being used tomorrow when I film the question and answer video around questions we put out on Instagram. We put some questions on the YouTube channel too, so it's a bit about me, about the car, about Drive Venture, about the club, what's coming up. Ask me anything kind of video. You definitely need a lapel mic when you're recording in this car because the cabin comes alive with the sound of flat 6 in motion when you squeeze this accelerator. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about the end of the petrol engine having been brought forward prematurely from one we originally thought was going to be 2040. Now it's 2030. So we're going to talk a bit about that because, you know, is it really the end of the petrol engine? Is it really the end of emissions? We'll talk about that. I'm also going to talk about the cars I've got coming up on the channel, but something which is off-piste. So I'm going to be covering the brand, which I'm excited about actually, because the car I'm covering is immense, and I'm going to be talking about that car very, very shortly. So, also on today's episode, I'm also going to cover off the Rolexes I think you should be buying if you can get your hands on them in the not too distant future. Lots of rumours around model discontinuation, production ending. So I'm going to talk about the watches I think if you can get your hands on one, then that's a watch you should try and get your hands on. And we'll see if anything else comes into my thinking as we are whisked hurriedly along in this car. Just comes to life. Just comes alive with that IPE. Anyway, so the end of the petrol engine. Look, I'm not the greatest environmentalist people might say. I'm not the greatest sort of global warming fan, okay, the bandwagon fan, okay, but you know, I don't know, I'll be honest, whether they're actually going to be able to pull this off. I don't think they are going to pull it off. I think the production of cars and combustion engines, I just can't see it coming to a complete end. They're now talking, with today's announcement, that they're going to bring forward the ban, so by 2035 hybrid vehicles won't be able to be produced, so you won't be able to have a petrol and electric option. You know, I think when people come out with these sound bites and these ideas, they don't always think it through, and I think they've got to bear in mind that there's an awful lot that has to happen behind the scenes. The manufacturers, the plants, the engineering, the jobs, the livelihoods, that's a key thing. Whilst I think Porsche's got an absolute knockout car with the Taycan in terms of its power delivery, in terms of its drivability, its ride, the quality of the ride. I think the battery powered car has got an awful long way to go before we're at the level where I think people are going to feel totally comfortable just going fully electric with their purchase. So I think that's something we've got to take into account when it comes to the electric engine. So, and again, if England bans them and the EU bans them, even though we're not now in the EU anymore, you know, what's China going to do? What's America going to do? What's countries and car production companies that are outside the EU. Okay, Volkswagen Group, no more Porsches with petrol engines, no more Mercedes, no more BMW. So that's a lot of premium car manufacturing that's going to go one fell swoop when the clock ticks over into 2030 and 1 second. So, you know, you have to sort of say to yourself, is it realistic to say that, other brands aren't going to pitch up and say, well, yeah, we're going to carry on and sell our cars in other parts of the world, you know? Would perhaps a manufacturer set up a plant in China or another part of the world and make cars there so that they can continue to be made? Remains to be seen. So I think it's an interesting idea. I'm not sure, when you actually look at all the detail and effort that's going to have to go in behind the scenes, whether this political slogan, these statements are actually going to come to pass. And don't forget, whilst no one's enjoyed lockdown and no one's been really enjoying it very much, and it's been a tough time for the country, is it the case that we've noticed emissions have gone right down, and we've been sort of weaned onto the fact, or pushed onto the fact, or pushed into a lifestyle that showed that, yeah, that daily commute is not necessary anymore. So I think there's lots of other options available to reduce emissions, rather than say, sorry, that car's going to go. But I think what's going to come with that is that what we're going to see as we get nearer to 2030, manufacturers are going to be clamped down on more and more. They're going to have the wrist slap, the hand slap. No, sorry, it's now EU emission 8 rules, EU emission 9, 10 and all the rest of it. And what's going to happen then is that, as we've already begun to see, the noise, the fulfillment factor, all that's going to go. And you're not going to have the car which sounds as good as it looks, and I think that's a shame. You know, it's a shame. Okay, next up. So as a betting man, I'd bet against it happening. So next up, topic of discussion. Let's talk about cars coming up on the channel. Well, obviously, hopefully you've enjoyed the video on this car. Some really exciting cutaways in between my answers to those questions, but we are going off piste. We are going into another manufacturer, and I am really excited to be driving this car. We are having a McLaren 600 LT, and now I first saw a McLaren 600 LT at the Goodwood Festival of Speed, close up and personal. There it was on the stand, looked absolutely fantastic. And that's one thing you've got to say about McLaren first off, is that they look amazing. You know, they are really, really amazing cars to look at. And I think, what's happened here? Look, God. The fence is completely gone. Obviously some boy racers trying to get through it, being chased by the cops. You can see that. Anyway, so I'm really excited to have a McLaren on the channel. And you know, the thing about McLaren is the performance. You know, everyone that drives them, they all say the performance is sensational. So I'm just really looking forward to having a drive and a review of that car. So that should be coming up in the next couple of weeks or so. We're also going to be featuring, yes, I'm going SUV. so we're going to be having a Macan GTS on the channel, the new GTS model from Porsche. So as people know, you know, I've said it before, if you watch my content, I'm not really a SUV fanatic fan, but we'll see. I believe this car is spec'd in crayon, so I think perhaps they are trying to impress me from the get-go. But it's a car which is practical, a cruiser, family orientated. As I've said, it is a car which Porsche are selling like hotcakes. And when Porsche moved into the SUV market with their Cayenne, and then the Macan, the smaller variant, came into the scene, it just, some pedestrians crossing there, they should have heard me coming. But yeah, it's just been a great seller, and I know Porsche and Kendall are selling lots of them. And again, it's a car which, if you want, you're gonna have to wait a while to get it, certainly from a new perspective. And again, as always is the case when it comes to Porsche, they produce good cars. I'm sure it's going to drive very well, and it's going to have rock solid residual value. So if you can't get something quick, it's only going to help the second-hand prices in the market. So yeah, I'm excited to drive that. Other cars on the horizon. My friend does have a friend who's got a GT3 RS, so we're waiting for the weather to get a bit fairer, a bit better. But we are going to feature that car on the channel as well, so stay tuned for that. As I've mentioned before, I've got a friend who has just taken delivery of and is getting that car ready for the road. The 911 991 Speedster. So that's in the classic Heritage Pack livery. Now again, it's a car which when it was first launched, I looked at it, I wasn't sure, but Porsche, again, these are genius people, marketing and design departments. The more I've looked at that Heritage Pack, the more I'm beginning to really like it. So I'm not quite sure when that's going to come off, but the friend of mine that's got that car, he's over the moon with it. I mean, so he should be. It's just absolutely fabulous car. So that will be coming up. We're also going to go back in time as well. We're going to get some older stuff on the channel from the Porsche 911 back catalogue. So we're going to have a 964 and need some work doing, I believe, on that car. So we'll get that sorted out. But also we're going to go back a little bit as well to 991.2 GTS. Lovely, a gate grey example. We had that on the Highland strip, so we're going to have that on as well. Okay, so we almost arrived at Costco. It's just urgent, it goes. Just the engine doesn't like to just go along gently. It likes to be pushed. Never fall asleep driving this car. Good God. So I'm going to fill it with juice, and then I'm going to get the supplies. And on the way back, part 2, stock a bit of Rolex. I'm wearing my Deep Sea today. I've actually got a bit of watch news, actually. Perhaps I should share that with you. My agents contacted me, and they have a model that I have said I'm going to get. So that's coming up. Obviously a bit difficult with lockdown. I could do click and collect, but you know, when you buy a Rolex watch, you want to go in, you want to sit down, you want to have a coffee, a cup of tea, you want to have a drink, have a bit of a chat with the people, and just pitching up at the door, having paid over the phone and just, yeah, in a bag. Not sure. I mean, you know, let's leave it a few weeks and just see what happens. So I'll do a reveal on that watch for you. Also, I said I would talk about the watches that I have in mind for you to consider buying, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well in part 2. So I am here, Costco again. Got to feed my hungry family, you know. And yes, I'm sorry that Emily's not in today's video. Yes, she's not kept dead quiet. Well, you know her, she wouldn't be that quiet. She'd have said something by now. So yeah, Emily, unfortunately, she's not in today's video. So, but she's going to make an appearance, and she loves this car so much. I've got to get her in this car because she loves coming in it. So, and now she doesn't need that Porsche car seat anymore. That also makes it more thrilling for her being in the bucket seat. So, Costco, stay tuned for part 2. And just like that, another shop is completed. Oh, the sun's a little bit low in the sky. Might need the glasses on in a minute. Yes, so in this bit of the journey, stay tuned because I've got a little bit of an announcement as well to make, which I'm sure it'll be interesting to learn about. So what watches do I think you need to be considering, or which watch do I think could be set for being discontinued? Well, there's rumours that the Deep Sea Deep Blue dial could be coming to the end of its shelf life. Now, the thing about that watch is it was introduced in 2012. So you have to kind of ask yourself, you know, we're getting on for 10 years now, and Rolex does like to, you know, switch it up a little bit sometimes. So I'm thinking to myself, maybe that could be the case. So stay tuned. Every watch eventually is discontinued. The ones to spot, and it's really impossible to do it, are the ones that are produced for a short space of time. They're the ones to try and get your hands on if you can. I think also another watch to consider is the Rolex Explorer. It's interesting, I was having a conversation with someone on the phone this week, and he was the manager of a shop, and taking calls from home while the shops had open. But he said, "Oh, you know, I wear an Explorer." The thing about the Explorer is it's such a classic watch. It's a watch that Sir Edmund Hillary wore when he tackled Everest in 1953. So it's a watch that's got an awful lot of kudos. Isn't actually a watch I own, but I think it's the 369 dial is so classic, and it just wears so well in so many different settings. So I think that's a watch which could get an update. Submariner's gone 41mm. This is a 39mm watch, so maybe they're going to make that one a little bit bigger. Don't forget it also needs the new movement as well, so I think maybe that's I'll stand to be correct on that. It might not need the new movement. I'm not quite sure on that, but anyway, I think it does need a bit of beefing up for me, so we'll see. Okay, another watch I think if you can get your hands on is the Explorer 2s, particularly the polar dial. The polar dial in the current reference is a watch I think will be changed to commemorate this 50th anniversary of that watch this year. Now, whether they actually bring out just that special piece and then update the other ones around that, then I wonder. They might have the 50th anniversary, but then they may tweak the black and the white dial so that there's a bit of a refresh. It wouldn't surprise me because, again, Rolex likes to commemorate its birthdays, and I think the 50th anniversary is a watch which could well change. Also, anything currently that's been made in Daytona has just gone off the scale. A watch I really would like to have is the Oyster Flex with the white dial. Sorry, the Oyster Flex with the white gold. Famous and worn by Mark Webber. You know, he's on the Rolex thing as being the ambassador because he's got a GMT, but I do believe as I take the chicane on the way home. Scarred. Blows me away. I think that is a watch that's anything in the Daytona line, you know, obviously steel's off the scale, stratusferically difficult to get your hands on one of them unless you go to secondary market. The mixed metal.
Watch out, roadworks reported on the road ahead. Solid
gold, anything really in Daytona, it's crazy. I've got one on order. The green dial, a full yellow with green dial, actually for Mrs. H. So hopefully she likes it. She wears an iWatch that's 40mm. I'm hoping she tried my steel one on. She couldn't have it, but I said, you know, that's what kind of size you're looking at, and she looked quite liked it. So we're hoping she'll go for that. Okay, obviously another watch I think if you can get your hands on is the Sea Dweller 50th anniversary with the red writing on the dial. That's another watch again which I think is very, very popular and is certainly worth putting your money into. Just a knockout watch, different, less of them around, a bit chunkier than the Submariner, makes it a little bit different. The bubble on the glass, it's a bit Marmite for me. Eventually it's probably something I'll do. Okay. All right. I'm going to talk a little bit about Drive Venture Club, just because we are doing things behind the scenes, setting up a fab website, what the sort of things I want to have on the calendar of events from the get-go. You can get behind the wheel and enjoy. Going to blast past that traffic. We use the power of this engine to do so, and we have done it. No sweat. Yeah, so what we're going to have on the channel is that burst of excitement there. We're going to have meets, drives, trips, weekends away. Then we're going to get into the tours, the Highlands, of course. And one thing I'm really hoping I can put on is a Pyrenees Spanish adventure, because you know, the culture of Spain, having been there, and you know, the tapas, they have the siestas, they're out till late. I was in San Sebastian, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and it's like the streets are full and people are milling around. It's an interesting experience, I have to say. So I really hope I can put that on later in the year. It's all down to what we can do with the dreaded plague, and you know, it's just so bad that people are having to deal with these sorts of things, and just hoping we can get it sorted out. Okay. And that leads me on to the announcement. Yes, I have managed to get an allocation on a 718 Spyder. So I don't know when it's going to come, but I have been reliably informed that I will get one. And it's very different to this car. But I had one for 18 months, 15 months, I think. Picked it up on my birthday, the racing yellow. It didn't really open my eyes to the thrill of open top motoring. Never had a convertible. Never bought a second-hand car for myself until I bought that car. And my M3 V8 went for that car, and I absolutely love that car. It just blew me away. It took it from like 7,000 to like 13,000 in like that period of time. Did the Highlands in it, thoroughly enjoyed it. It was like just a dream, and you can see some of the content. If you go back on the channel, back through the videos, you'll see that car. Obviously the videos weren't quite as polished and as they are now, because we've got a bit more help around the channel, but just an unbelievable car for the money it's at. Is just great. So I'm so glad. Again, Porsche Centre Kendall, thanks very much to you guys for coming through on the allocation. Just, you know, to get a car, it's just great. It's amazing. But there's also another little twist to that, but I'm not going to talk about that now. So there's another little twist in a good way about that car. So I don't know when I'll be able to get it, but I'll take you through the journey as I get nearer to it, and obviously it will feature on the channel. So thanks very much for watching today's video. Hopefully it's been of use to you. Stay tuned, there's plenty more ahead on the channel. Thanks very much for subscribing. If you are a subscriber, if you're not already, please think about subscribing, putting the notification button on, and as always, I'll see you next time.